just look at me
Perfect.
at the time. And we'll get started in just a moment.
Yeah, you're good.
Sure.
Perfect.
Let's see. Let's see, where are we here? All right, I am ready. All right, we will count down and go into the discussion.
Sounds good.
All right, here we go. 3, 2. And joining me now to talk more about 2019 legislative priorities from the Democratic perspectives in the Kentucky Senate is Minority Leader Morgan McGarvey. We appreciate you joining us for this taping of In Focus Kentucky from the Capitol Annex.
No, thank you. Happy to be here.
We appreciate you, and let's talk about what you're hoping to accomplish. I know there's a lot of different bills that are out there, conversations, but I know you actually have been very adamant that you're wanting to restore voter rights to felons in Kentucky. So talk about that and why that's something that you wanted to kind of be a champion for.
Sure. Well, first of all, it's the right thing to do. Once people have actually completed their sentence and they've gone through parole, and we've said they're rehabilitated, we've introduced them back into the community, they need to have a voice to be a part of that community. We are one of the very few states that has a constitutional lifetime prohibition against this. That's not justice. So let's get it done. There's another part of it too. I think that the restoration of voting rights is something that's catching on with both Democrats and Republicans. And when you look at the 2018 session, I don't think anybody went home happy. I think a lot of people walked out of here kind of stinging, because when you have a session where there's not a lot of transparency, there's not a lot of input or notice, you're not going to have good results. So I think there's actually an appetite this year to build some consensus around initiatives we can get behind. Criminal justice reform is one of those initiatives. So whether it's restoration of voting rights or bail reform, our bail reform system's terribly antiquated. It doesn't do anybody good. I mean, we had 37,000 people locked up last year at no risk to their communities simply because they didn't have the access to cash. If you're going to jail because of your economic status, that's not justice either. And I think people are recognizing that. But it came at a cost to the taxpayers of $120 million. So there's an economic argument there too. So we can build consensus around that. I mean, look at the school safety bill. We all want our kids to go to safe schools. I've got twin first graders at St. Matthews Elementary. I used to do tornado drills when I was in elementary school. They do active shooter drills. So we've got to have a better system in place. But the approach that Max Wise has taken to the school safety bill is, I think, what people are wanting to see. He didn't just say we're going to throw out some red meat political topics. He got together a group of Democrats and Republicans, members of our caucus, members of the House, who went across the state and listened to the experts, listened to the stakeholders. And so instead of just fortifying our schools, they recognize we need to have soft costs there. There's soft things: student resiliency, counselors, mental health, student relationships. They didn't fall for the trap of just arming teachers to satisfy a political base. So does the bill have everything in it I want? No. Is it the type of legislation we should be doing? I think so. I think those are some things. Expanded gaming, medical marijuana are certainly some topics I think that also can generate some enthusiasm and consensus building this session.
And share with us too about, obviously with your party being in the minority, how do you navigate working across both aisles, but also just within your caucus, to make sure that the bills and the issues that you want to address are getting called and being heard in the Senate?
Well, I think when you're in the minority caucus, certainly the majority establishes the agenda here. But if you put the work in, if you're brought an idea and you can explain why that idea needs to become a law, maybe get some media pressure behind it or something else, where you can build the story, I think you can make people listen. And so, I tell people in the minorities, you can always score points in the minority. And if you score points, you may not win the game, but you can certainly win a couple of rounds. And I think that, again, there's that appetite to build consensus, and with the idea that that's what we do. We come up with ideas. Some of the ideas we have, we know that we're not going to get until we're in the majority. But other things, I think we really can get people to listen by sitting down, talking with, and listening to their points of view, and coming out with legislation that'll work.
Well, Senator McGarvey, we appreciate you making time to join us for this recording of In Focus Kentucky, and we appreciate your time.
Absolutely. Thanks so much.
You bet. Now stay with us on In Focus Kentucky. Coming up next, you'll hear from House Minority Leader Rocky Atkins as he shares from his perspective what he hopes to accomplish with his caucus during the 2019 session. That's coming up next. But first, what's a look at your weather forecast? Well, you'll figure out next in your Weather on the Ones. We'll be right back.